This is Paducah, Kentucky, rapidly becoming known as Quilt City, USA, home of the American Quilter Society and site of the annual quilt show and contest. Located on the southern bank of the Ohio River between junctures with the Tennessee and Mississippi rivers, Paducah lies in an area rich in history and tradition. Through times of adversity such as the 1937 flood, Paducah has continued to grow and play an important role in the history of this country. A home place to such notables as Alvin Barkley, 35th Vice President, and Irvin S. Cobb, humorist. Much has changed through the years, but one thing that has remained constant, the drawing power of the region is undeniable. Still, the people come from all over, as they did by the thousands, for the American Quilter Society's 1988 show and contest. Overlooking the scenic Ohio River, Jim Smith's Executive Inn served as the headquarters for the American Quilter Society's 1988 show and contest. Better than 400 quilts and wall hangings were showcased in this extensive facility, along with numerous daily seminars. Quilting materials and products were available through an abundance of exhibiting vendors. With $33,000 in prize money, this year's show promised excitement and lived up to that promise. International entries, in addition to entries from almost every state, added to the pattern. Interest in the fashion show was so overwhelming that 2 sessions were scheduled. These were the events of this year's 4-day show that this video deals with, as well as showing you as many of the displayed quilts as possible. A brief word now about the process of entering and judging the quilts. Amateurs and professionals were divided according to class for a total of 12 judging categories. Those wishing to enter quilts in the show were required to submit quilt slides for consideration. Each slide was reviewed by 2 different quilt groups, with many being reviewed several times before the groups made the final selections. Each of the 12 categories were handled separately. Those quilters notified of acceptance then mailed their quilts to Paducah in advance for judging the week prior to the show. Serving as judges this year were Judy Matheson of Woodland Hills, California, Katie Christofferson of Lexington, Kentucky, and Chris Wolf Edmonds of Lawrence, Kansas.
It is an incredible job in a show like this because the quality was very high. The workmanship was very good, and there was a lot of good, innovative design. Well, in going through the quilts, to begin with, the first thing that I look for is the visual impact, the design and the color. And once you pick those quilts out, the ones that stand out in design, then you can start narrowing them down somewhat on the workmanship, how they're constructed, the fineness of the stitches in the applique, the accuracy of the piecing, all the seam lines lining up and the lines being straight, the curves being smooth, and also the fineness of the quilting and the finishing, how the binding is put on, and then how the quilt itself, whether or not the edges are straight or ripply, so that when it's hung, if it hangs flat and straight or if the edges ripple, makes a difference. Each person got a comment sheet back with their quilt, not an in-depth critique of the quilt, but at least one positive comment and one offer of one suggestion of something that could be done to improve the quilt. That's a lot of comment sheets for 438 quilts. It's a lot of work. There were scribes there to do that as we made comments about each quilt. Those comments were written down. We didn't have to deal with that. They had plenty of people to handle the quilts, to hold them up so that we looked at each individual quilt full out, nothing folded, and we got a chance to see each one from a distance as well as to examine it up close for workmanship details. So.
For many, perhaps the highlight of the week was the Friday evening awards banquet held in the Executive Inn showroom. Over 1,200 attended to honor the talent and craftsmanship of those taking top prizes. The president of the American Quilter Society, Meredith Schrader, provided the opening comments for the occasion.
You know, your creativity is mind-boggling. Your workmanship is fabulous. And your patience must be beyond belief. And your perseverance is also beyond belief. And so, to each of you, this is what makes you wonderful quilters, these qualities. But you know, these qualities also make you wonderful, outstanding people. And I'm just delighted to be a part of this quilt explosion. And I'm so pleased to welcome you tonight. And this is your night, and I want you to have a wonderful night. And so thank you for being here.
The first presentation is appropriate. It's for a first quilt, the quilt maker's first quilt. And what a phenomenal first quilt we have for this award. It's a quilt that is called Cinderella, for obvious reasons, and was made by Eleanor Carlson from Cadillac, Michigan. This is an absolutely charming collection of pictures about the story of Cinderella, from the pumpkin patch at the bottom to the dream castles in the sky. And first place in the traditional pieced professional category goes to Not Quite Black and White by Wendy Richardson from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
It's a Joseph's coat pattern, so it's a traditional pattern, and I wanted to change it a little bit and make it different. Well, it's black and white mostly, but I tried to use fabrics that weren't just black and white, so it would be something different once you got up and looked at it close.
And in first place in the Innovative Piece Professional category is Chromatic Progressions Autumn by Carol Fallert from Oswego, Illinois.
It's called Chromatic Progressions Autumn. Chromatic, of course, refers to the color, and the progressions, that's the color gradations, fabrics that slowly go from one color into another color. So that's what the color is all about. And since the colors I used were very muted, I put them against a brown background, and it reminds me of autumn, which is my favorite time of the year. And so when someone sees this, this is kind of what you might call abstract expressionism. So when someone sees this, I want them to have the feeling I have when I'm walking in the woods on a crisp October day and feeling just wonderful. And so I call it Chromatic Progressions Autumn.
And in first place in the Appliqué Professional category is My Mother Taught Me to Quilt by Faye Anderson from Denver, Colorado.
The quilt was inspired by an old quilt that I'd seen in a book that was appliqué felt, and it had over 140 blocks in it and was much larger. Some of the blocks have been adapted from that design, like the little house that's up here, which occurs several times in the quilt, and this one, and this one, and this one, and the cat up here. But then it was a little hard to see from the photograph exactly what the designs were, and so I decided just to develop my own designs for the rest of the blocks. There are the little white spots that you see here are flat sequins, the ones that do not have facets on them, and then they're secured by a small iridescent seed bead. There's quite a bit of embroidery on the quilt. It is only quilted around the blocks in the center section, but there is heavy quilting in the outside area.
And in first place, in Other Techniques Amateur, Earth Mother by Jan Lanahan from Del City, Oklahoma.
This is Seminole patchwork, and it starts in layers of earth. It starts with rock, underground water, fire, mud, and the Indian woman herself is planting. This is corn. The original name for the Seminole patchwork here is corn, and she's planting it. An eagle in the cloud there representing wind. The tail feather of the eagle is her headdress.
And first place in the Wall Quilt Professional category is Over, Under, Around, and Through by Eileen Sullivan from Columbia, South Carolina. Eileen has used a progression of spectrum colors to create her soft interwoven design. Each color passes through the others on its dark side in one direction and on its lighter side in the opposite direction. And as a prize for winning the Best Wall Quilt Award, she also wins $2,500. Is Lavender Blue by Julia Overton Needham from Knoxville, Tennessee. What can I say? Julia's absolutely perfect applique of her original design and her precise piecing and exquisite quilting all combined to win her this well-deserved award. And now comes the biggie, the Best of Show Award, and a prize of $10,000 that's awarded by the American Quilt Society goes to Gypsy in My Soul by Jane Blair from Coxahoken, Pennsylvania. About her quilt, Jane says, Queen Charlotte's crown blocks form a double border and a medallion around a variable star. Applique vines and innovative color are an expression of the gypsy in my soul.
The theme for the 1988 quilt show was baskets. As with any art form, the source of inspiration is unpredictable.
Well, this quilt was taken from a basket, which is this one right here, and this was found in my grandmother's cabin way up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And the island that they lived on was called Duck Island. And this is where this basket came from. It's an authentic Indian basket, and that's where I got the design from.
The theme for the 1989 AQS show will be circles and/or variations of circles. Looking ahead to 1990, the theme will be fans and/or variations of fans.
This lady deserves the Workmanship Award. It's beautifully done. Her quilting stitches are nice and even and consistent, and that will make the indentation in your quilting lines look much better and give you a better look. Ladies, be sure and vote for a viewer's choice. If there was a quilt you could take home with you, which one would it be? Vote for that because they are going to be giving that lady a special award.
In addition to the 12 categories previously mentioned, visitors to the show were asked to vote for the quilt they liked the best. When the votes were totaled, the 1988 Viewer's Choice Award went to Parrots in Paradise by Ann J. Oliver of Alexandria, Virginia.
She's looking at this Trapunta. It's got to be in there. Done by Flavo Patton of Venice, Florida. He's 86 years old, they tell us.
While the displayed quilts were being admired by thousands of visitors, much was being demonstrated and learned. Seminars and classes covering a wide range of quilting-related subjects were conducted daily.
I've been doing workshops on pieced pictures and applique for realism, which a lot of people have been interested in because they have wanted to do portraits of their family members or other things that they haven't been able to do in applique before. And then I've also been teaching seminal stripping in silk and silk-like fabrics, which I've been doing today. And we've been making strips like these, and I've been showing them how to put them into garments like this.
Perhaps the aspect of quilting that reflects the greatest new interest is the art of quilted fashions. The enthusiastic anticipation of this year's show was so widespread that a second session of the Saturday afternoon event was scheduled. The Executive Inn's poolside proved to be the ideal setting.
thought the competition was pretty stiff. There were a lot of garments that we thought came out really, really well in the competition, and it was hard to make a choice because we had such delightful things. And we were impressed with the workmanship, the design, the colors. It's really an enjoyable experience.
I think I've been proved wrong. I thought that lightning didn't strike twice, but lightning struck twice. Here, AQS, Sherry Roberts again, and she gets an extra $100 for using Hobbs Valley.
Those attending the show were by no means limited to the activities at the Executive Inn.
Oh, it is absolutely fantastic. It's the first show I've ever attended. I've never even been to a quilt show before, except at the Denver Art Museum, where they have their permanent show. And I can't get over the amount of people here, and I think it's just absolutely marvelous the way all of the merchants in town take part. Anywhere you drive around town, the bank has quilt in their window, the pharmacy, everyone does, and I think it's just marvelous the way the whole town comes out for it.
But nothing is as well organized as this show has been. I'm delighted that people have come from England, from Australia, and I understand some from Switzerland to attend this show, and it is very worthwhile. I hope it will always stay in Paducah.
Trolley tours of the city highlighted historic landmarks, such as the 1860 antebellum mansion known as Whitehaven. No springtime visit to Paducah would be complete without touring the lighted Dogwood Trail.
learned the people in this city are absolutely the friendliest people I've ever met. Everyone. It's been fun to meet quilters from other states and cities.
It's amazing because having something in common with everybody, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're on the street or in a restaurant or, at the fabric store or right here, you've got something in common to talk about. And so you ask where you're from and, there's a give and take. And you talk about quilting and what you've done and what you plan to do. And it's just been really delightful. And as Mary said, everyone has been so friendly. It's just been a really exciting experience to be here. Also, it gets you re-excited to get into your own projects and remotivated and new ideas about what you want to do when you get back.
While the 1988 AQS show reigns as the biggest and best to date, the prevailing attitude is, don't miss the '89 show. The site will once again be the Executive Inn Riverfront in Paducah, with the date set as April 20th through the 23rd. Plan now to be a part of one of the most exciting quilting events ever held. To all those who assisted and participated in the 1988 event, the American Quilters Society extends deepest thanks and appreciation. If you have not yet become a member of the American Quilters Society, we invite you to do so now. Special membership benefits include a 1-year subscription to American Quilter, free admission to the annual AQS show, quilting books at a discount, membership card, and membership pin. Write today for more information. American Quilters Society, Post Office Box 3290, Paducah, Kentucky 42002-3290.